Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we take a whole stack of sources and really pull out the key nuggets of knowledge for you. Today we're plunging into some ancient texts, actually,
Right.
full of, well, surprising wisdom and these timeless stories, these parables.
That's right. We're exploring the first chapter. It's called Paṭhamo vaggo from the Opammasaṃyuttaṃ. That translates roughly to the Book of Analogies. It's part of a larger collection, the Sutta Nikaya, or Connected Discourses. And it really is a treasure trove, lots of insights. Each one's like a vivid story meant to light up some pretty profound truths, especially, I think, for anyone looking to live a bit more mindfully.
Right. And our mission, like always, is to grab those vital nuggets, help you shortcut your way to being genuinely well-informed, maybe even a little wiser along the way. You're going to hear practical advice, some really fascinating comparisons, and clear calls to action, all straight from these, well, remarkable sources. So let's get into it. Let's unpack this. Okay, so we start with a theme that just keeps coming up in this ancient wisdom, heedfulness. And it's more than just like paying attention, isn't it? It's more of an active thing.
Exactly. It's an active, intentional awareness. It's about guiding your decisions, shaping your life, rather than just sort of passively reacting to whatever comes along.
Okay, so where's the first example?
Let's start with the Gable Sutra, the suttas. Picture a house, like a traditional one with a gabled roof. All the rafters, they meet right at the peak, the very top.
Okay, got it. The central point.
Right. Now, if you take away that peak, what happens?
Well, the whole thing collapses. All the rafters fall down.
Precisely. And the insight here, the really striking takeaway, is that all these unskillful roots, the basic drivers of suffering like greed, hate, delusion, they're all founded on and they all converge at ignorance, avijja.
So ignorance is the peak.
It's the peak, just like removing the peak brings down the house. Getting rid of that fundamental ignorance means all those unskillful roots, they just get eradicated too. So the wisdom is pretty clear. You need to train yourself to live with this deep, active awareness. Because, well, true liberation, it starts by taking apart your own blind spots.
Okay, so ignorance is the key peak. But like for someone listening, how do you even start to spot your own ignorance peak? And just, everyday life, is it just one thing?
Well, it's the foundational one, the text suggests. And the practice involves really trying to shine a light on those areas where you're just not seeing clearly. Think of it like a constant process of asking yourself, okay, why am I really doing this? What's the actual motivation here? It's self-inquiry. And speaking of fundamental truths, there's another sutra, the fingernail tip sutra, Akasika Sutta. This one gives a really stark perspective. It kind of provides the why for this heedfulness. Imagine scooping up some dust on the very tip of your fingernail.
Okay, tiny amount. Barely anything.
Right. Now compare that tiny speck to the whole vast earth.
It's almost nothing in comparison. So what's the analogy pointing to?
It highlights just how few beings are actually reborn as humans. The vast, vast majority, according to this text, are reborn as non-humans.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if the Gable Sutra showed ignorance as the root problem that heedfulness tackles, then this fingernail tip sutra is the stark motivation. It's saying that this human life is incredibly rare, precious.
That's it, exactly. Human life is this unbelievably precious, fleeting chance. So it really reinforces the need, the urgency to live with that active heedfulness, because this opportunity for insight, for transformation, it's remarkably rare. Don't waste it.
Okay, that really lands.
Yeah.
That sense of rarity, of preciousness, so heedfulness is crucial. But then there's the Archer Sutra, the Nuga Sutta. How does that one sort of dial up the urgency even more? What's the surprising bit there? It paints this amazing picture, right? 4 expert archers shooting arrows off in 4 directions, north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
And then there's this person who's so incredibly fast, they could actually catch all 4 arrows before they even hit the ground.
Unbelievably swift.
Right. Exceptionally fast. Then it says, think about how fast the sun and moon move.
Faster still.
And even faster than that are certain deities, these beings that speed ahead of the sun and moon.
Right. So you have this incredible buildup of speed, archer, person, sun, moon, deities, faster and faster.
What's faster than all of that?
Well, the deeper lesson, the real punchline for us, is that swifter than all of these is the decay of our life force. Ayusakara, the term is. Our own vitality, our time.
Wow. Faster than anything.
It really prompts you to think, okay, if life is dissipating that quickly, what does this mean for your focus? What should you be doing right now? The core insight feels like, well, procrastination is basically spiritual bankruptcy.
Ooh, that's strong. Spiritual bankruptcy.
Yeah. Life's decay is quicker than thought. Every single moment is this non-renewable resource. It demands intentional action. So the wisdom is, act now. Align your focus with what really matters before the moment just vanishes.
That really connects that ancient idea of impermanence to, well, our modern sense of urgency, doesn't it? Don't wait.
Okay.
Okay, so from that real urgency of heedfulness, we pivot. The next big concept is loving kindness, or mettā. And the sources suggest it's pretty transformative, not just for how you feel inside, but like as a real force.
Absolutely. It's presented as incredibly powerful. Take the family sutra, Kula Sutta. It offers this interesting comparison. Think of a family with lots of women but only a few men. According to the analogy, it's easily attacked by robbers, vulnerable. Now flip it. Imagine a family with only a few women but lots of men. That family is difficult to assault. Much stronger, more protected.
Right, it makes sense in that context. So
Yeah.
how does this apply spiritually?
Well, applied spiritually, a practitioner, someone on the path who hasn't really cultivated this liberation of mind through loving kindness, mettā cetovimutti is the full phrase. They're easily attacked, assailable by non-human beings. Now, you can interpret that literally as spirits or forces, or maybe more psychologically as like destructive internal states, negative thoughts, overwhelming emotions.
Okay, so inner or outer negativity.
Right. But someone who has cultivated loving kindness, who has developed it, made it strong, they become difficult to assault, hard to shake. So the profound nugget here is that loving kindness acts like this powerful, invisible shield. It protects you against negativity, whether it's coming from outside or bubbling up inside.
An invisible shield, I like that. But, for someone feeling really overwhelmed by negativity, by those forces or emotions, what's the first, tangible step? How do you even start building that shield? It sounds nice, but how do you do it?
That's a great question. It often starts small. Consistent, small acts of goodwill, and importantly, directing that goodwill towards yourself too, not just others.
Right, self-compassion kicks in.
Exactly. And to show just how powerful this is, even in small doses, consider the 100 Ladles Sutra, Sutta. It compares giving gifts, Dhammo. Imagine giving away 100 ladles full of provisions or gifts in the morning, then again at midday, and again in the evening.
That's a lot of giving. Sounds like huge generosity, material generosity.
It is. Immense effort, immense material offering. But here's the surprising comparison, the key insight. Cultivating a mind filled with loving kindness, even for a very brief moment, the text describes it as the time it takes to milk a cow.
Okay, so maybe just a few minutes.
Yeah, a short, focused period. Doing that yields greater fruit, greater spiritual benefit than all that extensive material giving.
Wow. Seriously.
Yeah.
More than all those gifts.
That's the teaching. It really highlights the incredible spiritual effectiveness of mettā. The profound takeaway seems to be that a single, sincere moment of loving kindness, genuinely cultivated in the mind, can actually be more spiritually impactful than, say, a lifetime of just external good deeds without that inner quality.
That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From just doing good things to cultivating the inner state behind the actions.
Precisely. It's about the quality of mind.
Okay, that's a really surprising twist.
Yeah.
We often focus on the big gestures, and then to really, hammer home that protective quality you mentioned, the shield idea, there's the Spear Sutra, Sutta. This one's got a very vivid, almost painful image.
It does. It asks you to imagine someone trying to block or parry a sharp spear coming right at them, but using only their bare hand or fist.
Ouch. Yeah, that's impossible. You just get badly hurt.
You'd only injure yourself. Exactly. So the sutra applies this. It suggests that if some malevolent non-human being, again, interpret that as you will, external force or internal negativity actually intends to disturb the mind of someone who has really cultivated loving kindness,
What happens to them?
that being, that negative force, will only end up exhausting itself. It will actually harm itself in the attempt.
So loving kindness just deflects it, like an impenetrable shield.
That's the image. It becomes this unbreakable defense. So across these three sutras, the family, the ladles, the spear, the instruction is really consistent. It boils down to cultivate loving kindness. Make it developed, make it strong, make it your vehicle, your foundation. Establish it, practice it, really thoroughly undertake it.
So basically make loving kindness a core part of who you are, not just something you think about occasionally.
Exactly, a central pillar of your being.
Wow. That's a powerful sequence on mettā. Okay, so we've had heedfulness, urgency, loving kindness as protection. What's next? It sounds like we shift gears a bit now.
Yeah, the next set of analogies offers some Pretty fascinating warnings, actually, and some very practical advice about maintaining integrity,
Yeah.
in your practice, but also just in life generally.
Okay. Warnings and integrity. Let's hear it.
First up is the Drum Peg Sutra, Asute. It tells this story about a particular drum belonging to a group called the Dasarahas. The drum's name was Akaka.
Okay, Akka the drum.
Right, and as the main body of the drum started to decay over time, wood rot maybe, they kept repairing it by hammering in pegs,
Patching it up.
patching it up. But eventually, after lots of repairs, the original wood of the drum completely disappeared. All that was left was basically a collection of pegs holding the shape.
Huh. The original drum was gone, just the repairs remained. What's the warning there?
Well, this story serves as a potent prophecy in the text. It predicts that in the future, people, practitioners, they'll start to neglect the really profound teachings. Specifically, it mentions the super mundane connected with emptiness, suttas, spoken by the Buddha himself.
Okay, what does that mean? Supramundane, connected with emptiness. That sounds deep.
It refers to the teachings that go beyond just ordinary worldly concerns. Things like the nature of reality, liberation from suffering, insights that aren't just about making daily life slightly better, but about fundamental transformation, ultimate reality stuff.
Got it. The deep stuff.
The deep stuff. And the prophecy says people will neglect that, and instead they'll start preferring more superficial teachings. Maybe things that sound nice or poetic, maybe easier to digest, but made by later teachers, not the original source.
Like choosing style over substance.
Kind of. And the sutra warns that this preference for the superficial, the pegs, will eventually lead to the disappearance of the true, profound teachings, the original drum. So the vital nugget, the takeaway for us is, don't let the easy, superficial stuff replace the deep foundational wisdom. You have to actively seek out, listen to, attend to, and really engage with those authentic, profound discourses, the ones that truly nourish the mind, even if they're challenging.
It's almost like today, Maybe neglecting to read a really challenging, profound book because it's easier to just scroll through like superficial social media posts.
Exactly.
The original drum, the deep wisdom fades because we're just constantly distracted by the pegs, the quick hits, the easy content, but ultimately kind of hollow.
That's a great modern analogy for it. The distraction is subtle, but it's insidious. It erodes the foundation.
Okay, that's a sobering thought. Keep seeking the substance.
Right. And sticking with that theme of, vigilance against decline, the next insight is from the Log Pillow Sutra, Kaligarkatana Sute. This one talks about a historical clan, the Lichavis. Apparently, they were known for being really powerful, but also very vigilant, very diligent. So much so, the story goes, they used to sleep using logs as pillows.
Logs as pillows. That sounds incredibly uncomfortable. Why would they do that?
Well, the idea was it kept them hardy, kept them alert, not too comfortable. This vigilance made them really difficult for their enemies to conquer. They were always kind of ready.
Okay, tough and ready.
But then, the sutra says there's a prediction. In the future, these same Lichavis would become soft, luxurious. They'd start sleeping on soft pillows, sleeping in late until sunrise.
Oh, they lose their edge.
They lose their edge, become complacent, and this softness, this lack of vigilance, would make them vulnerable to their enemies. And the sutra applies this directly to spiritual practitioners.
Okay, so it's a warning against spiritual laziness, spiritual complacency. How does that vulnerability show up for us? Maybe not facing literal enemies, but in a modern spiritual context.
Well, stepping back, the broader implication is clear. Just like the Lichavis' complacency made them vulnerable to an earthly king, our spiritual complacency makes us vulnerable to Mara. Mara, often called the evil one, isn't necessarily a literal devil, but more a symbol of all the inner and outer obstacles, temptation, distraction, doubt, laziness, anything that pulls us away from our spiritual progress, from waking up.
Right, the inner adversary.
Exactly. So the challenge for you, for anyone listening, becomes, how do you stay vigilant? How do you maintain effort against that subtle creep of complacency in your own life, your own practice?
Yeah.
It's easy to get comfortable and drift.
Yeah, it really is.
So the profound takeaway is, maintain a healthy spiritual discipline. Keep that log pillow mindset in some way. Vigilance is your armor against the subtle, seductive whispers of complacency and distraction. Don't get too comfortable.
Stay sharp.
Ugh.
Keep that edge. Okay, that's a powerful call. Now, what about the Naga Elephant Sutra? Naga Sutta. This sounds interesting. It's about mindful consumption.
Yes, this one uses elephants. Imagine wise, great, old elephants living in a forest near a lake full of lotus plants. When they eat the lotus roots, they're very careful. They pull them up and meticulously wash off all the mud before eating them.
Okay, cleaning their food.
Right. And because they do this, the roots nourish them, sustain their strength and beauty, and they don't get sick.
Makes sense.
But then you have the young, inexperienced elephants. They see the elders eating lotus roots and try to imitate them.
But they don't know the technique.
Exactly. They just rip the roots out and gobble them down, mud and all. They don't wash them.
Uh-oh. What happens?
They get sick. The mud causes problems. Some even die. And this whole scene is then directly applied to monks receiving offerings like food.
Okay, so how does the elephant analogy relate to monks and offerings?
What really stands out here is the lesson about detachment. The elder monks, like the wise elephants, consume their offerings, the food they receive, without craving, without infatuation, without being attached, seeing the danger, and with wisdom of escape.
Okay, that's a key phrase. Without craving, seeing the danger, wisdom of escape. What does that mean practically?
It means they take what they need for sustenance, but without greedily grasping, without getting obsessed or addicted to the pleasure of it. They understand the potential danger of attachment, even to simple things like food, and they maintain a sense of perspective and awareness that ultimate freedom lies beyond these temporary satisfactions.
They eat mindfully without the mud of craving.
Precisely. And this sustains them spiritually without causing harm. But the young monks, like the young elephants, they imitate the outer action-receiving food, but without that inner detachment, that wisdom. They consume with craving, with infatuation. They gobble it down, mud and all. And this leads to spiritual harm, spiritual sickness.
So for us, for your daily life, the question becomes, are you consuming things, food, information, entertainment, whatever,
Yep.
with mindful detachment?
Why?
Or are you letting the mud of craving and attachment lead to, like, spiritual indigestion?
That's a great way to put it. It's not just what you consume, but how you consume it. Is the mind clean, or is it full of mud?
That's a fantastic distinction. It's not just about monks and food, is it? This feels like it applies to how we consume everything, news, social media, relationships.
Absolutely. How do you take anything in from the world? Mindfully or cravingly?
Okay, powerful stuff. And then there's a final warning in this section, the Cat Sutra, BL Sutta. Sounds a bit ominous.
Yeah, this one is pretty stark, quite visceral. It describes a cat waiting patiently near a rubbish heap or maybe a drain pipe junction looking for a mouse.
Okay, classic cat behavior.
Right. It waits, hidden, stalking, and when a nice, plump mouse comes out, snap, it catches it.
Gotcha.
But then the cat doesn't chew it properly, it just bolts it down whole, swallows it quickly.
Oh.
Maybe out of greed or haste. But because it eats it whole, the mouse's intestines, still inside, cause the cat intense pain afterwards. It can even lead to the cat's death, according to the sutra.
Yikes, that's a graphic image. Eating something too quickly, too greedily, and it poisons you from the inside. What's the punchy bottom line for us here?
Well, the striking takeaway is really about how we interact with the world, particularly with temptations. It's applied to a monk going for alms, walking into the village or town. If that monk goes out unguarding body, speech, mind, without mindfulness established, with uncontrolled senses, basically just wandering around, not paying attention, senses wide open to anything.
Okay, vulnerable.
Vulnerable. And then they see something appealing, something tempting. The text mentions forms, sights. Lust arises, and it just completely overtakes their mind because they weren't guarded.
Like the cat grabbing the mouse without thinking.
Exactly. And this overtaking by lust leads to one of two outcomes. Either spiritual death, which doesn't mean physical death, but means abandoning the spiritual training entirely, giving up the path.
A complete loss of progress.
A complete loss. Or the alternative is experiencing severe suffering akin to death, meaning profound mental defilement, deep spiritual pain and damage, even if they don't leave the path.
So it's catastrophic either way.
It's presented as very serious. It underscores the critical importance of how you enter the world, how you engage with potentially tempting situations. The instruction is clear. Go out with guarded body, guarded speech, guarded mind, with mindfulness established, and with controlled senses.
So don't just wander into temptation unprepared.
Right. The profound nugget seems to be a warning against unconscious consumption in all its forms. It's not just about monks and sensual temptation. What are you letting into your mind, into your life, without really examining it, without chewing on it first?
Yeah, that applies to so much. Information, influences, desires. Are you swallowing things whole without awareness?
Exactly. Are you the mindful elephant carefully washing the root, or the cat impulsively swallowing the mouse that poisons it?
Okay, wow. Those are some strong warnings about integrity and awareness.
We really are.
All right, we're nearing the end, and we close with two final insights. And you said these are maybe the most surprising. They come from observing a simple jackal.
Yeah, they're quite subtle and thought-provoking. The first one is Jackal Sutra 1, Sigala Sutta. It asks the listener, basically, did you hear that old jackal crying out there at dawn? This jackal is described as suffering from mange, a nasty skin disease. So it's clearly in a bad way physically.
Okay, a suffering animal.
A suffering animal. But, the sutra points out, despite its suffering, this jackal can still move wherever it wants. It can stand, sit, lie down wherever it pleases. It can even feel a cool breeze blowing on it. It has a certain physical freedom.
Right, even though it's sick, it's not confined.
Exactly. Now here's the surprising part. The sutra then reflects that it would actually be good if a renunciant, someone claiming to be a follower of the Buddha, a Sakyan son, is the term used, could experience even such a state as that jackal.
Wait, it would be good for a dedicated practitioner to be like a mangy, suffering jackal. That sounds backwards.
It's deeply ironic, isn't it? The nuance here is powerful. While the jackal has physical freedom, its overall state is still one of suffering, clearly undesirable. But the implication is that this suffering jackal's basic physical freedom is, in a grim, ironic way, actually better than the state of a monk or practitioner who has taken on the outward form, the robes, the title of a Sakyan son, but is failing inwardly in their spiritual practice. Maybe they're full of inner conflict, hypocrisy, or lack genuine progress.
So it's saying that outward appearances, the role of being a monk, mean nothing if the inner state is actually worse, less free in a way, than even a suffering animal.
That seems to be the challenging point. It's a deep call to look beyond the surface, look beyond titles, beyond outward appearances. True spiritual progress isn't measured by the robe you wear or the path you claim to follow, but by your actual inner state, your genuine freedom from inner afflictions. So the call is again, abide heedfully. Examine your true spiritual condition, honestly.
That's incredibly humbling. Judging progress by inner reality, not the label, it really forces self-reflection.
Wow, it's a stark mirror.
And then there's a second Jackal Sutra, Jackal Sutra 2, Duttiya Sigala Sutta. It follows up on this old mangy jackal.
Yes, it does. It brings in another quality. It suggests that even that old, suffering jackal might possess some small measure of gratitude and remembrance of kindness.
Even the suffering animal might feel grateful.
It might have some basic sense of appreciation, maybe for a scrap of food found, or some simple comfort, some basic memory of kindness shown, perhaps.
Okay, so if even a simple, suffering animal can potentially feel gratitude, what's the contrast being drawn for humans, for practitioners?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, it makes a really poignant contrast. The sutra points out that some people, again, claiming to be these dedicated Sakyan sons, might, paradoxically, lack any gratitude or remembrance of kindness whatsoever.
Seriously. They might be less grateful than a suffering jackal.
That's the challenging implication. It raises this important question. If a simple animal, even in its suffering, can possess a fundamental quality like gratitude, how much more vital, how much more expected is it for us humans, especially those consciously on a spiritual path with all our capacity for reflection and awareness?
Yeah, that puts it in perspective, if the jackal can manage it.
Right. So the profound nugget here is, cultivate an unwavering sense of gratitude. Be mindful of kindness shown to you, however small. It's presented as a fundamental measure of your basic human decency, your spiritual integrity. The instruction is, be grateful, mindful of kindness. What little has been done for us will not perish. Don't let acts of kindness just disappear from your awareness. Remember them. Value them.
Hold on to gratitude. It's foundational. Wow, those Jackal Sutras are surprisingly deep.
They really are. Simple images, profound reflections.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. 12 ancient analogies, 12 powerful insights. Where does this leave us? What does this all mean for you listening right now?
We've journeyed through, well, the absolute bedrock importance of active heedfulness, really understanding the fleeting nature of life. We've seen the incredible protective, transformative power of cultivating loving kindness. And we've heard these vital warnings about maintaining integrity, staying vigilant against complacency, being mindful about what and how we consume, and the fundamental need for gratitude. And these ancient parables, they're really not just, historical artifacts or quaint stories. They offer incredibly direct, practical guidance. Especially today, maybe, navigating information overload, trying to live a more intentional life. They show how profound wisdom can be found in really simple everyday things, like just guarding your senses when you walk down the street, or taking a moment to genuinely cultivate kindness, or remembering something someone did for you. They really encourage us to look deeper, always, beyond the surface appearances. And they remind us that this kind of wisdom isn't just for monks in a monastery somewhere. It's accessible. It's relevant for anyone seeking a more aware, more purposeful existence right now.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Consider the everyday analogies that show up in your own life. What profound truths might be hidden there, right in plain sight, just waiting for your heedful attention? That interaction you had, that challenge you faced, that moment of quiet, what's the deeper pattern, the underlying lesson? And maybe more immediately, how might applying just one of these ancient insights we talked about, perhaps taking that moment for loving kindness, really feeling it, or consciously cultivating a sense of gratitude for something small, how might that shift or even transform your day, starting right now?
It's about bringing that awareness into action.
Exactly. We really hope this deep dive helps you move forward, feeling more informed, maybe a bit more inspired, and definitely with some rich food for thought.